Welcome to NIRO Knowledge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of NIRO Knowledge. I am your host, Nick Roy, and with me today is my crime-fighting partner, the police science doctor, Dr. Susanne Knabe-Nicol. Close enough, right? I'm terrible at accents. There's a few I can do. That one's not great. So she is here with me today. We are going to give a great load of conversation, find out a little bit more about her, and also a great conference she has coming up. Before we jump into some of your background, one thing catches my eye in your background, and I'd like you to speak to the crowd on this, is the TIE fighter sitting on your shelf behind your head.
Yes, it's actually a Bluetooth speaker, which looks great. Unfortunately, the battery life is absolutely rubbish. So it either has to be plugged in constantly, or it's now, been downgraded to decoration only.
So not that you're a fan of the dark side of the Force, but just a Bluetooth speaker.
I am a fan of the Force, and I think it could be used for good and for evil, but definitely not one of the. I think Jediism is the fastest growing religion in the world. But what? Yeah, I have played with the thoughts of being a Jedi, and I have. When I was doing some Reiki training, energy work, somebody called me Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which I quite liked. I didn't mind that. So no, I do like Star Wars. I have seen all the films.
That's fantastic. Always to show them the struggle that we have and the battles that we have to fight for the betterment of everything at that point. So let's jump in. So to speak to you, a doctor, what was how did you get there? How did you get to getting triggered into, I guess, in a sense, following that path to your PhD, and to what did you study?
So when I was doing my undergraduate degree in psychology, one of the modules I had selected in the third year was forensic psychology. And what stuck with me was when the lecturer said that something that had been done somewhere, I don't remember which study it was, but it was basically to deal with youngsters who were delinquent. And what they did was they provided some training to the parents, and the training of the parents resulted in like a 70% drop in the youngsters offending. And I thought, that's fantastic. Wow, why aren't we doing that everywhere? Why is not everybody doing that? And that stuck with me. I did actually, after that degree, I first did an MSc in interactive multimedia, but it was so generic. I didn't get anywhere with it. And then I was, bumbling around doing some irrelevant jobs until I decided, right, that's enough. Plan B, I'm going to do something proper, and I'm going to go back to university. I'm going to do forensic psychology, I thought at the time. And then I found this course at Liverpool University, which is where it first started, investigative psychology. I think it was actually investigative and forensic psychology at the time, and really was in love with the topics that we covered there. And I did a PhD after that, but I did that part-time and worked full-time for the police at the same time to do the PhD, because I wanted to have a foot in both worlds, because I think there's quite a gap between academia and practitioners, which is basically why Police Science Doctor came about. So this website I ran.
Yeah, I think that's it's been great. For people who don't know, I have been speaking with her for almost a year now, something along those lines. We're pushing at least 8 months.
Summer we started, I think.
Summer, okay. So yeah, about 8 months. We're getting close to wrapping up winter at this point here. But for almost the same purpose, our conversations have continued to speak to this kind of bridge that I think both of us are trying to create between the research aspect and the practitioner, and really forging that together. We see, obviously, you being in the UK, Susanne, is you get to see what it is when certain research and academic work is being put to practice, because there are countries that are doing this a lot better than the United States at this point. And so to see that in action and happen, that's something that I would love to see get triggered here in the States. And I think some of our conversations have gotten to that. So with that, you mentioned a police science doctor. Tell us how you, brought that about. Obviously, you gave us a little piece of what the vision is for the police science doctor, and what do you have there for the folks at home?
So I guess I'm the kind of person who always has to be working on something big. So the PhD took me a long time, being part-time. And then once I had done that, I was thinking, right, okay, what am I going to do with all this work that I did here and all the research I did? And initially I thought, okay, I'll put it into a book, and then try to find out what would I do with the book then. And I realized actually I need to build up an online audience to become interested in this. And I thought, actually, what I need to do is I need to translate research, because I was frustrated from when I was still studying and working in the police in various civilian roles, that there's so much fantastic research being shared by academics amongst other academics in academic journals that are behind a paywall. And when really what they found should be brought to the practitioner who's supposed to use it. If they're finding, okay, this way of interviewing someone is better than this way of interviewing someone, here you get more correct recall, you get more investigative relevant information. Well, that's relevant to the investigator, not just the professors and the students and the people who actually get to read it because they have, the academic institution has access to the articles. But it's the people who are supposed to be doing the interviewing that need to know about that. And that just wasn't getting fed down. So what I do with Police Science Doctorate, I've been doing that for almost 2 years now, is to take some of that academic research, now translate it into a video, because police officers don't have access to academic journals usually. They don't have the time to read boring, dry, no offense to anyone, academic articles, yeah, and go through all of that to find something that is relevant to them. But they can watch a video that's 4 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, and they can learn something from it. So I've got, I don't know, 29 videos in my video gallery now on Police Science Doctor, and it's just to build this bridge. And that has been really well received, because and the other thing I do is I take police science snippets. So I troll through research. I find something that is immediately actionable or practical, and really something that somebody who works in policing could do or use straight away. And I extract 3 such golden snippets of information from academic papers, and I email them out to people who are on the Police Science Doctor email list on a Tuesday, and they get the link to the original article as well, so they know it's not, I'm not publishing my research. I'm not a purist academic in that I don't actually do my own research anymore and publish that. I'm curating other people's research and I'm communicating that out. Yeah. And so because that way it gets out to the right people.
Yeah, which I think is the fantastic part, because a lot of people, as you're well aware, the officers, as you mentioned, don't have time in order to read. I mean, I've seen them. The longest one I had seen was almost about 130 pages. That's, how am I going to put that into practice for somebody? Or what's the best way to do it? Just like you are translating it. So a quick call to action for everybody before we even get to the end of the show: sign up for the Police Science Doctor. It is free to do, and you get all of this information already available. And the more that she continues to pipe out. And I think it's fantastic, the snippets, because just like you said, it's just this simplified, quick that can get done. To kind of, circle back a little bit, why, since you were in academia, why do you think it ends up being that it doesn't trickle down properly to the practitioners? Because I would suppose that academia and people doing the research would be, and I know sometimes they attempt to work in collaboration with, and sometimes police agencies aren't very accepting of that for one reason or another. But why is it that what gets found doesn't make its way to the practitioner themselves?
I don't know if there are any good reasons, but if you look at medicine, for example, so the people who practice medicine, nurses and doctors, I think they may actually integrate a day into their working schedule to go through research, to stay up to date with things. Police don't do that. It's not part of the police setup and the police psyche to stay up to date with things. And I think that is a big problem. And Professor David Kanter, who is actually, like the forefather of investigative psychology, which is what I studied, he released an article about that, the difference between, I think it was called The Tale of Two Cultures, the difference between academia and policing. And I turned that article into a video. And some people thought that makes so much sense not because of my video, but because what he was saying. Mm-hmm. So academia is set up so that people think long term. They do their research, they find something, and it raises their profile. It's then peer reviewed to make sure it's sound, it's solid. Then it's published so people can access it, or at least academics can access it. Policing is completely different. Okay. It's very busy. It's very quick. Something has to be done because we need to be putting out fires all the time. We don't actually have that much time to look at how we could prevent things, even though there are so many strategies to do that. And it doesn't serve, when they do find something, they often want to keep it to themselves. There's a culture of not sharing data, of not sharing information. And in many ways, they are opposites, but they need to work together, and they could work together so much better, because there are studies where reoffending has been reduced by not putting people in prison, but actually saying, okay, we're going to divert you now to something where you're going to commit to seeing a community worker, where you're going to commit to doing XYZ, so you don't go into prison, and rather than being incarcerated. That's been compared, and it was found that it's so cost effective. And again, I'm thinking, if we know it's working, why don't we do that everywhere? And it's just, there's little long-term thinking in policing, because the police chief is in their position for, I think, 3 years, 5 years. Somebody else will come along. Are they going to want to invest in something that's long-term, that is going to maybe cost a lot of money? It might be difficult to convince all the colleagues that it's worth doing. Yeah. And if there's any effects from it, they will already have moved on to something else perhaps. Whereas academia, there is no one person who's the head of that topic or that practice. Academics often sometimes move from one university to the next. They have a really good reputation, and they have that freedom to move and to research and publish. It's so different in policing. So there is no good reason why they shouldn't share information, but there are lots of reasons for why their setup is completely different. But this is changing, hopefully, a lot now. I mean, evidence-based policing is basically test what you want to do or what you're already doing, see if that was the best way of doing it. If so, do it. If not, find another way. And medicine has been doing that, for years. You wouldn't, you just had lots of allergy shots. You wouldn't have accepted them if somebody thought, this looks quite nice. Nick, would you like to try that? We've never tried it before, but let's do it. And you wouldn't accept that. You would want it to be tried and tested. In medicine, we expect that because it's normal. In policing, why don't we think it's normal that something should have been shown to actually work better than an alternative?
I think it's a great analogy that brings back to old wives' tales, right? It's like, you can't go outside with your hair wet, you're going to catch cold. Actually, no,
I do it all the time.
It's never been the case. It might freeze when it's cold outside, but outside of that, no, it isn't. So it goes back to all of those experiences. I think that a lot of what you're saying is some of those high-ranking officials, they're only there, they've seen what works and will continue to do it, even though somebody else has actual proof that something works, or at least to attempt to use it, because obviously not every situation is going to be exactly the same as how it was tested. Smaller agency versus a larger agency may see some variation in how that research being implemented actually works in practice. But yeah, I think that's it really boils down, especially here, seeing it in the US, it ends up being culture at that point. A lot of people want to see, as we mentioned before we jumped on, like TV shows basically of people getting arrested. That's what policing is, catching the bad guy. It's like, well, technically it should be, as it have been talked about in previous podcasts and between you and I before too, is reducing is really what we're doing. We're trying to prevent what's happening, as opposed to having it happen and then having to catch somebody because of what they've done. So it's an interesting to see, hopefully, that what's going on in our current climate in the US, that there's a break into that better practice of, evidence-based policing and models that do work, research that does work at that point in time. But to kick back a little bit, to talk about research, tell everybody a little bit more of some of the items that they can find on the Police Science Doctor website, on your website. I know you talked about research and how you break some of it down, but I know that and you spoke to forensic psychology. So there's a bit of a good variation of things for, I think, everybody to find useful. So if you can give them a few little specifics of what they could catch there.
Yeah, so I try to cater to a lot of different learning styles. So everything I do is a video, and you can go to policesciencedoctor.com and there'll be a link to watch. And I've also got a video that's an interactive video that helps you select the videos that will be of most interest to you based on what you're interested in. Are you interested in investigations? Are you interested in response policing as in uniform policing? Are you interested in evidence-based policing, for example? So please go ahead and try that out. Just go to policesciencedoctor.com and click on the interactive video, or go to watch and just look at the whole video gallery. So there's quite a few videos on investigations. That's probably the biggest area. So it's things like geographic profiling, crime linkage, crime analysis, using an offender's MO. There's also how to best investigate sexual offense cases, how to do an investigative interview or an interrogation, how to avoid false confessions, how reliable is witness testimony, what is investigative psychology, what is offender profiling. There's something on the 8 stages to domestic homicide. There's something on mental health of police officers, because the stress levels experienced by police are, through the roof. They're 5 times more likely to suffer from PTSD than the normal population. And actually, in England at least, I wouldn't be surprised if it's worse in the US. 1 in 5 police officers has symptoms of PTSD and may not even realize it. So that's very, very important and very topical. And what else have I got on there? Interviews with lovely people like yourself, with experts who have been talking and teaching about something for quite a while or have something important to share. And so you can watch the videos. If you're on the email list, again, which is free, you just put your details into the registration form at the bottom of the page. And then you get access, it's password protected, to the read page. So it's watch, read, listen, learn. And the read page has all the transcripts of each video. So this is everything that was said, is also the key learning points highlighted. It's timestamps, it's all the references to the research, where it comes from. And also the police science snippets can be downloaded. So I've been doing that for 15 weeks now. This weekly email of police science snippets, you can download all the PDFs from there. And podcast, so you can listen to Police Science Doctor as a podcast. If you're commuting, if you're going out for a walk, if you're washing the dishes, you can't be concentrating on a video. You can listen to everything as a podcast. So I try to cover most of the senses.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. So for everybody listening, it's any which way you can consume information, she has it there for you. So there's basically no excuse not to at this point. If you're looking for a great resource to learn, that's fantastic. So along with that, and along with all those great resources, you have another great one coming up. You are hosting the Rapid Fire Conference, as you call it. So can you tell us how that came about and what we can look forward to with that?
Yes, so the Rapid Fire Conference on Behavioral Science in Policing is the full title, and it's called Rapid Fire because, again, I try to take into account the people that actually want to attend the conference and see the talks. That they're often busy law enforcement practitioners, so I don't want them to have to sit through a presentation that's maybe an hour long, where maybe the presenter is not that great at keeping the audience engaged and fresh and really excited. And then at the end of the hour, you're thinking, well, actually, yeah, what am I coming away with though? What if I told someone about this session, what would I remember tomorrow? What are the takeaways from that? I find that often in conferences, you don't, if I don't remember, the main learning points, then I know there was something wrong with either the content or the way it was presented. So rapid fire means that basically I'm going to show 10-minute training sessions by different people, you included, on certain topics. And 10 minutes, I don't think is too long to ask for an attention span. And it's going to be a variety of topics. So there's going to be something on spatial analysis in investigations. There's going to be something on the 8 stages to domestic homicide, investigating sexual offenses, something for police officers on how to, if you're the first responder, responding to someone who's in crisis. If you encounter someone who's, usually the police do encounter people at their worst stage in life, possible. They've just been assaulted. They have just assaulted someone. They're trying to run away. They're trying to take their own life. They don't know what to do, and they're maybe making really bad decisions in that moment. Okay, you might probably pass that person on to someone else, to a social worker, to a health worker, to a domestic abuse worker, or you arrest them. But you are the first responder. So what is the best way for you to deal with that person? What is the best way for you to try and contain the situation at the time? And so there's going to be a session on that, which I think is going to be really valuable. There's a session on how to deal with stress if you work in policing, because, so that's Jeannie McKenna. And I think the statistics she pulled out was that the average member of the public will experience about 3 to 5 critical incidents in their lifetime. The average police officer will experience between 300 and 400 in their working life. Are we providing police officers with the tools to cope with that, to digest it, to come through that healthily? No, because what did we say earlier? They're 5 times more likely to have PTSD than the normal population. Yeah. So it's so important, and it's what I'm going to do. I'm going to host the conference live and then introduce everything and discuss it afterwards. But again, I value people's time. I know it's limited. I'm not going to risk having to try and juggle 9 different speakers and their internet connections. And can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? So they're actually going to provide me their sessions, and I'm going to play them. I think that's the safest way to make sure I don't waste anyone's time with technical difficulties on the day. If there are technical difficulties, they'll be down to me or the streaming platform. But I'm really excited because I can introduce so many, I think about 800 people registered already. It's free. I want everyone to have exposure to this. It's an introduction to the variety of topics that that are in this field of police science, the topics that I talk about. And some of the speakers I'm actually in the process of developing a course with, so that whatever they teach, whatever they have found, whatever could help police officers, law enforcement people, they can bring it to more people, and especially in the last year with COVID and everything, we've seen how restricted we suddenly are when we can't go into a training room anymore and sit in front of 12 people. Well, actually, if you can teach this in a digital way, you can teach it to 1,200 people, no matter where they are. And there's, especially like something like, helping officers through stress. Who doesn't need that, and does it matter? It shouldn't matter whether they're here, whether they can come to Ginny who lives in Scotland. It should be accessible to anyone who needs it. And so it's basically just giving people this exposure. And everything that I've published so far is free. So I've got the Police Science Doctor Academy, which is where the courses are going to be. And I just hastily put together a free introductory course on behavioral science in policing yesterday. So hopefully, if you want to go there, just go to policesciencedoctor.com and click on Learn. And hopefully it all works. If something doesn't work, let me know. But it's free just for people to get an introduction. And it's the videos that are on the website pulled together, because I know people don't watch them all in one go, but they're arranged in such a way that hopefully you will think, okay, this is interesting. I need to look into this further. And it's all there to be accessible to as many people who need to know about it as possible.
Yeah. And again, there's fantastic stuff. So in so much variety that there is, again, something for everybody there, and whatever you might be looking for. Even if you thought you weren't looking for it, it is there. But with that, so as we say, Police Science Doctor, it is just DR at the end, DR for doctor. So policesciencedoctordr.com for everybody who is listening. That link will be in the show notes, as they have been previously. But to kind of to wrap this up and come to a conclusion, before we get to the end, your call to action, when is this conference taking place for people?
So it's Thursday, the 22nd of April, 2021. I think I need to adjust the timings now for America, because you guys went ahead and changed your clocks
Such
last
a bad
weekend.
practice still.
Yeah, we haven't yet. So I think I said that it was, at the time when I checked, it was going to be 8 a.m. EST. Now it may be something different, so I need to check. So it's going to be, if you're in America, it's going to be early morning.
Well, we jumped ahead, so that would make it 9.
That's probably better for you.
Yeah. For some of us, yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you live more in the west of the country, would have
the
been
West Coast
even
is 6
earlier
a.m.
than that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
They can usually handle that.
I'm going to check that, and to try and fix all the promotional material with the time where the timings are on. But yeah, just go to policesciencedoctor.com, and you can go directly to the link, which is R for rapid, F for fire, C for conference, /RFC, or you will, on the homepage, you'll see something you can click and you can register. It's free. You will also, when you register for the conference, you will also be automatically added to the email list, so you don't have to do that twice, and you will get access to all the transcripts, all the videos, all the police science snippets, and you will actually get the snippets emailed to you. And then, nearer the time, I'll email out the links on where the conference is going to be streamed to.
Yeah, personally, it's one of the best things about that too, is when you're on the email list, getting those emails, so that way you can have the doctor's greatest snippets right away without having to go, oh yeah, I haven't been there in 2 weeks. What does she got for me now? Nope, you get it when she's got it posted up, ready to go. So that's a fantastic piece. So as we come to an end to this, what would be your call to action for all the listeners and viewers? And you can definitely take back the one I submitted earlier in this of everybody go and sign up, because it's free, to the policesciencedoctor.com.
Yeah, so I think there would be 2. One, if you're interested in the conference, go to the homepage, look for that and register for the conference, or just put /RFC. And the other one is click on Learn, because you've got the Behavioral Science and Policing free course available. There's also going to be an introductory course on evidence-based policing, free. That's going to be accessible again soon. And you can already pre-book the emergency stress pit stop course, which is the one that I was talking about, with the helping people through police stress to hopefully try and reduce that. So the person that is doing that course, the instructor, is Ginny McKenna, who's also going to be speaking at the conference. And she nearly committed suicide when she was working in the police, and she's come out now, and she's become a life coach, and she now has a strong urge and feeling and calling to help other people who work in the police, help them through stress and reclaim their life, have better relationships, sleep better, feel good about themselves, feel positive, and not feeling dread and whatever you may be feeling in your job. So you can pre-book that now. We're probably going to launch it early May 2021, but you can get on there, because I know especially police, human resource departments might need quite a lot of lead time to get authorizations and get all the cogs rolling, get everything in order to maybe send a whole bunch of officers onto that course.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you heard it here, hopefully first. Is it first? Is this the first time they're hearing about this? No, dang it.
Sorry.
I can't keep up with all the media. I apologize. But you heard it here as well.
Yes.
So yeah, if anybody is interested in their officer wellness, and I know that's a big thing, thankfully, coming through, at least here in the States, I would link in some form, but hopefully it's been something that's generated elsewhere. If it's the first time you've heard of officer wellness, definitely take a look at the conference, and great to know that there will also be a course coming up to just take care of yourself as an officer. I know sometimes a lot of people tend to bottle things up, and that's why we get to that tipping point. And as you mentioned, officers, especially with how much more that they end up dealing with versus the typical average citizen.
Yes,
so,
and I think the pit stop association works really well, because everybody accepts that a racing car going around the tracks at some point has to pull over to refuel, to get new tires, that some maintenance needs to be done, because otherwise it's going to lose the race. It's going to be slower than others. But we don't we don't give ourselves that same permission to actually pull over and say, hang on, in order for me to function fully and to be there for the people who need me, the people who are in crisis, I need to be strong enough to do that. And the emergency stress pit stop course is an opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, that's all. I love that analogy. That's actually a really good one. Never heard it put that way before. But so with those great words, I will wrap this all up. Dr. Obi-Wan Knabe, thank you very much for joining me today and
welcome,
sharing your
Mr.
knowledge
Roy.
with everybody else. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Another great episode of NIRO Knowledge. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and remember to share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite service. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at nick@niroca.com. It is nick@niroca.com.